For all you Formula One enthusiasts out there, Force India has got a podium finish, a third finish by their driver finally at the Bahrain GP, Sergio Perez. It'll be interesting. So hello and welcome to take this conversation forward on India Post Live. You've joined in to the first live streaming news conversation web TV. It's the first of its kind in India, an interactive web TV, and we are at the conversation to take forward the entire topic of Formula One, especially Force India and how the team has performed. It is ironic to see how despite getting a podium finish after 29 races of no points at all, they have one of their drivers has finally made third number finish on the podium. Isn't it ironic that it comes at a time when the owners Kingfisher and Sahara India are lapped up in a huge legal battle and a financial mess? Here's why. Take a look at this video.
What a moment of joy it was for Indian Formula One fans. An elated Malia had said, "It's a very special moment. My job was always to make this team climb up the ladder steadily." While his Force India partner Subrata Roy missed out on the celebration. If you recall, he was arrested on the 28th of February and has been held in Tihar jail since the 4th of March. Well, what exactly is it for the duo? Both languishing in mammoth-sized debts. Malia's Kingfisher Airlines hasn't paid its employees' salaries since August 2012. The airline owes over 350 crore rupees to its employees. It's not just that, the airline has incurred over 7,000 crore rupees in debts to banks, oil companies and so on, and is also embroiled in a number of legal troubles. While on the other hand, Roy's company Sahara ran into trouble with market watchdog SEBI for non-payment of dues. The Apex Court has set a 10,000 crore rupee sum as his bail amount. Sahara has asked its employees to contribute to a high dividend-paying scheme to pay the bail. Hush hush, this hasn't been made official yet, but employees have been informed that their March 2014 salaries will be delayed.
So do join in this conversation at India Post Live, and to take forward this interesting discussion today, we have in the studio Mr. Raj Kapoor, who is the Chief Emergency Coordinator at the Buddh International Circuit and also founder of the Northern Motorsports, I believe, and also a sports enthusiast himself. We will be having Skype callers from different cities to take forward and offer their comments and questions on this topic. It was an interesting finish for Sergio Perez. He was under a lot of pressure to prove a point not only to his competitors but to try and make a statement for his own team. If you were able to catch a glimpse or having read about the performance of the team, what are your thoughts on how Team India or Force India has performed?
Definitely, if you see the way it's progressed, it's had a very clear-cut goal and method of achieving it. It started off from somewhere, and slowly and steadily every year it has got something right, and finally I think it's at a point where the podium is achievable, and maybe you might find them there a few more times than before.
Great. So positive note and a huge confidence boost for the drivers and the team as such. On this point, I'll try to bring in Udit, who's joining us on Skype. Udit Das, thank you for joining in for a Skype discussion at the conversation on India Post Live. Do you have any questions or comments on Force India as a team and their performance in Formula One GP and so far how they've done in 2014 as a season opener?
Yes, absolutely. Firstly, Prati, it's great to be here. It's great to be talking about something I'm very, very passionate about. And a team that I've been watching very closely from the first time, from the earlier guys of Spiker, Midland, way back in the day, they were Jordan. And honestly, it's been a fantastic rise from the time that the team was launched at the Gateway of India, at that event that happened. One really could not have foreseen and said at any point of time that this was a team that was going to make it to the podium of a Formula One team. And they did that in 2009 at the Belgian Grand Prix with Giancarlo Fisichella. That was, one could say, a kind of, it was lucky. at that point of time. But what's happened this year is fantastic because, I mean, with the changing regulations, with everything that's changed in Formula One this year, it's very interesting because it's shown that you do not need 500 million, 400 million kind of pockets to succeed at the highest level of motorsport. It has shown that at the end of the day, it is a development race. It's a development arms race in Formula One. But if you have a great team, if you put in the kind of thought, the kind of engineering, the kind of aerodynamics, and you have two fantastic drivers in terms of Nico Hulkenberg and Sergio Perez, they show that it's possible for a team, for a small outfit, for a minnow outfit as they call them in Formula One, to succeed at the highest level and to challenge the likes of a Mercedes, Red Bull, a Ferrari with fantastically huge budgets and much bigger teams. So it's a brilliant thing in terms of the fact that it's shown us that, hey, you know what, you can actually dream and it can happen. And well, for a team like Force India to succeed in Formula One, it's brilliant.
Nobody had imagined, Mr. Kapoor, if you could shed some light, that Force India would become a name to reckon with. They've had a very, very steady, rise into the GP circuit, but also a one that has been marred with a lot of controversies with their owner, Vijay Mallya, the liquor baron, and Kingfisher owner, being in a financial mess, having a lot of legal tangle back home in India. But that doesn't seem to have overshadowed their image as such, or the drivers' confidence levels as such?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that the brand Kingfisher in India has been mired with a lot of controversy, but the interesting part is that it seems to have given a very, very open and a clear-cut mandate to whoever is managing the team, the core people who handle the team, don't seem to be hassled with whatever's been happening locally, and they have positively worked towards all things right and made sure that the team gets all the right inputs and the budgets to ensure that every year they get better equipment, better engines, better drivers, and whatever the strategy has been, one is not really aware of, but it seems to have worked.
Right, a strategy that has hit home and got them a podium finish after a lot of trial and error. Do you believe, Udit, you've been following the last few races as well? There was a close, win even in the Malaysian GP, possibly in 2012. Also, Adrian Sutil has time and again tried to, bring up a good challenge or a good show in several races in the past 2 years as well. So, do you believe they've always managed to work out a good strategy, but probably it's their competitors who are far better?
So, I mean, the thing is that, what's happened with Force India in the past is that at the end of the day, those kind of budgets that these other teams have, it helps them move them along the development race, which needs to go out throughout the season. However, what they've done this year is that they started focusing on the 2014 car much earlier in the season as opposed to how they've done in the previous years because of the changing regulations, the new engines, etc. that were required. Therefore, what happened is that in terms of a starting point, we have a stronger engine with the Mercedes engine and also with two very strong drivers. So in the past, there was Adrian Sutil and there was, in a way, you had other drivers as well. You had a driver like a Paul Di Resta, who were good drivers, but not great. In Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg, we have two people who are young, who are hungry, and who have shown in their previous organization, in their previous teams as well, that they are really driven to succeed. Sergio Perez was challenging Fernando Alonso last year at the Chinese Grand Prix. Similarly, Nico Hulkenberg has shown that he can reach the podium on multiple occasions. He has shown that he can be really challenging with the ones up front. And that's the kind of team that Force India needed to form. And it happened after many years. And it's fantastic because it's shown that, just with a proper strong team in place, a proper understanding of, how the sport works, it's really shown that we can reach the top, the pinnacle of success.
But Udit, I had a question for you as a Formula One enthusiast or a loyal watcher of the entire GP. Don't you feel let down or probably disturbed by all the bad press that the company owners 2011, in fact, Sahara India Parivar joined in as co-owners with 42% stake in the team.
Correct.
So don't you
Correct.
feel at all let down or disappointed or miffed by the entire controversy, and how are they actually bringing up the monies and the finances to support and keep the team going when they're not able to even pay their employees?
So the thing is, I mean, from a sports fan perspective, whether it's Formula One, whether it's cricket, whether it's football, you don't really look at where the money's coming from if your team's performing well. I think at the end of the day, your loyalties lie with the team. So as long as you know that the team is performing well, you know that the team is doing well, how they're going about it, whether they've had layoffs, whether they've had any sort of, change in structure, as long as you can see the on-track performance and you can see that, okay, this team has been improving year after year, that's all that at the end of the day matters. I know it's a very, one would say, a very myopic view of things, but as a Formula One fan, I mean, at the end of the day, you're more concerned about the sport. You're more concerned about what impact the sport has, right? So
Right.
that's pretty much it.
Mr. Kapoor, on that thought and perspective that Udit is giving us, I wanted to know, do you feel, now we heard Vijay Mallya's immediate reaction when he found out about the podium finish. He was thrilled to bits. He said this was a momentous occasion for the team and a good boost for the rest of the season. But do you feel that the company owners being mired in a legal tangle with huge financial debt as such would consider selling off the team at this point when they're on a high? Is it a possibility?
Definitely, it could be a possibility. One can't say for sure. But then the whole idea, if you see the way the sport has moved in the past, teams have always moved from one owner to another owner. And the idea has always been to invest, build up the team and, kind of attract the best talent and bring it to a point where it actually becomes successful on a regular basis. And then once it becomes one of the front runners, it is possible to hive it off at a much better price than you picked it up, and if this has been his business plan to start with, I don't see anything wrong in it.
So he would probably ride the wave and make his monies there.
Possibly, considering it must be, I would say, really tough on a company which is trying to run a team like this and have a serious crunch in terms of funds.
Exactly, because it's such a financially intensive
Very
game
intensive.
and sport.
It's a very intense game as far as monies are concerned.
So how do you feel in terms of the dynamics of the team with the owners and the co-owners being, under so much of a spotlight? Do you feel that sort of leaves a blemish on how the brand works, a brand value with getting advertisers and sponsors to keep the team's morale going?
See, the way I have seen this work, it hasn't actually made too much of a difference globally. There was a time, say about 2 years back, when the crunch had hit Kingfisher, where some of it started to reflect on the team itself.
Exactly.
There was a time. But I think that seems to have passed, because now the reports that you're getting are not really negative per se in terms of the team's creditworthiness in the F1 market as such, and the fact that it has the best engine currently in the market and it seems to be winning. It has good drivers. It seems to be a healthy team.
But Mr. Kapoor, could you shed some light and your thoughts on how do they manage to generate the funds? Is it just advertiser driven, sponsor driven for each team, or is there some sort of a different kind of a financial structure that each team in Formula One actually follows?
See, the monies, the way it works is not really something which is available to all and sundry. It's not a very transparent system, but yes, the teams that are successful do get some rewards, and there is a formula which is linked with what the collections are for a particular race.
Right. Udit seems to want to join in.
Yeah, so I would like to just put in my 2 bits here. So in a way, how it works for most of the Formula One teams, so like Mr. Kapoor was mentioning, in terms of, yes, if the teams are successful, they get a portion of money. So there is a thing known as the basically the rights for the TV sponsorship. So for every minute that a Formula One team gets shown on TV, they receive a certain amount of funds and a certain amount of money from the overall pie of TV advertising rights that are purchased. So Mr. Bernie Ecclestone, who runs the sport with the Formula One management and CVC partners, they sell the TV rights to various networks across the world. And basically, say you have a pie of 100 is your pie size. Out of that, each of the teams is allocated a certain percentage of the pie depending on the agreement that they have with the commercial rights holder. So depending on how much time you get shown on TV, you get X percentage of the pie. Secondly, depending on where you place in your Constructors' Championship. So there's first to 10th in the Constructors' Championship. Depending on your ranking of in the Constructors' Championship, you receive X millions of euros or dollars, etc. During the entire season. So each of these various elements is basically how these teams receive their money. So therefore, you'll notice that throughout the season, teams are fighting practically tooth and nail to try and get between, say a sixth and a seventh place kind of thing. So because sixth and seventh means a difference of close to 10 million pounds. So these kind of monies, along with sponsors, along with money that comes in from sponsors and various other sources, is how these teams are run.
Right. But Udit, Force India as such has never actually crossed beyond, say, the 10th or the 12th position so far, except in 2009. Am I right?
No. Actually, last year, Force India finished 7th in the Constructors' Championship ahead of Williams Formula One team. So therefore, they received a large chunk, which could have been, I don't have the exact figures. So Formula One releases this book called Formula Money, which has the entire details on each and every team, where their funding comes from, and details. Because all of these companies are registered in the UK, most of them,
yes.
In the UK House of Commons.
Yes.
So the House of Commons, each of these companies are registered, and the entire details of all their financial transactions, be it any debts, any losses, etc., are all recorded there. And another key point is that out of the 12 teams that are on the Formula One grid, out of the 11, 12 teams that are on the Formula One grid, 6 of them are loss-making teams. 3 of them are extremely cash crunched. Force India is not among one of them. So it's an interesting dynamic to look at because teams come and go in this sport, and it's a very high attrition rate, honestly, because usually team owners change every 1 or 2 years for the smaller teams. Your standard manufacturers like a Ferrari, Mercedes, these guys stay along. But for the smaller teams, they usually change every 1 or 2 years.
Okay. Actually, the interesting point that he mentioned was about several other teams also having a financial crunch. Do you feel that the politics and dynamics of the sport as such is what is, is not very transparent, has always seen, a spotlight which has been of mixed bag? There are people who completely get put off by Formula One as a sport due to various reasons, because it is financially intensive. It doesn't have as much of a, draw for a lot of sports enthusiasts, as you were pointing out. So what is it that makes it a very heady cocktail for the ones who are actually loyal supporters, where like Udit seems to be?
See, it is a complex sport to understand. And I think Udit is one of the few people who seem to be really driven and is really fond of it. Not many people understand the sport the way it should be, because only if you understand it in its totality
right.
can you understand what's happening.
Right.
On a very basic level, people just see 20 plus cars going round and round, and it takes you all of 3 minutes to get into a scenario where you don't know if you're actually watching the race live. You will not know who's leading. True. Because it's one big bunch of cars that are going around the circuit. It's only if you are watching, you know which car has which driver, and you correlate what you're seeing with what's on the screens there and what you're hearing. Can you understand what's happening? So not many people are inclined to
right.
actually follow it.
Right.
But it is very glamorous. It is cutting edge technology. It has the best of everything, and the way the game has been packaged, it is brilliant. So that is what gets people in to begin with, and then people who are like Udit understand and remain, and the rest tend to move on.
Right. Thank you so much, Udit. On that note, thank you for your interesting comments and thoughts, and telling us that you are still cheering for Force India, it seems, and maybe some other drivers. They are ranking 5th in the Constructors' Championship as well, right?
Force India right now actually second in the Constructors' Championship. 3 races in, we are just around 70 points away from Mercedes, which is a huge margin.
So, good luck and happy viewing for the next race. Thank you so much, and please take the conversation forward on our Twitter handle hashtag at India Post Live, and also on our website indiapostlive.com. Thank you, Udit, for joining us on sharing your views. I'll try and bring in another caller with a few of his thoughts, but before I get to that, Mr. Kapoor, let's discuss the politics of the team owners, their dynamics, their relations. Kingfishers, Vijay Mallya, and larger than life, known for his parties, persona, the Kingfisher calendar, the glamour quotient, like you said, brings in everything on board to make sure that Force India has the correct image and packaging. On the other hand, you see a complete contrast, so to say, in terms of glamour of Subrata Roy in the Sahara India Parivar. He is currently languishing in jail. The company is trying to even appeal to some of its employees and staffers or supporters to bail him out. It's nothing official yet, but that seems to be they are trying everything possible to ensure that the Sahara India image doesn't, overshadow the win or probably the image of Force India as a team. How tricky and what kind of a tightrope are they walking?
No, in a purely national context, I think yes, it definitely takes something away if the owner of the team, who are big public figures, if they have a lot of negative what should I say, publicity
image
surrounding them, then yes, it does affect the credibility and the what should I say, the brand value of the team.
Right.
But again, the number of people who actually follow the sport in India are very, very minuscule in comparison to the numbers that understand these two huge personalities.
Right.
So the people who are really loyal and follow the sport with fervor, I think the very fact that an Indian team can make its presence felt in a very, very competitive scenario for dog-eat-dog F1
yes.
grid is a huge high.
So it's a huge accomplishment,
It's a
so
huge
to say.
accomplishment.
And this is going to be a definite morale boost for the entire team.
Yes. For the country as well. I would say that the fact that an Indian team can do this, it does shake up a lot of old and very well entrenched names in this sport.
All right. We have Mr. Navneet joining us from Chennai on Skype. Thank you so much, Navneet, for taking our time to join the conversation at India Post Live. Your thoughts on what we've been discussing so far, mainly the team dynamics and Force India finally managing to make a break onto the podium at the GP in Bahrain. Any comments or questions that you'd like to make in terms of their performance so far and that of their team owners?
Absolutely. I think it's an incredible feeling for an Indian team at the highest stage of motorsport to be on the podium. And also Sergio Perez is a phenomenal talent. And it was pretty unfortunate that although last year he was with one of the fastest teams with the McLaren, and he didn't do too well, and this being only his third race with the Force India Mercedes team, and reaching the podium is phenomenal. And if you go back to 2012, Sergio Perez was in his rookie year when he drove brilliantly for the Sauber Formula One team.
Right. Navneet, I wanted to know your thoughts on the ownership of this team, Force India. It's seen a lot of ups and downs, and they're actually walking on fire, so to say, in terms of their financial mess or irregularities that are being questioned and are currently being discussed in the Indian public domain. What are your thoughts as somebody who follows the sport? Do you at all read up on it? Do you feel, do you have an opinion or views on what is currently going on? They are mired in a legal mess as such due to the kind of debt they are in.
See, I think there are two different business verticals at the end of the day. We cannot, although the ownership kind of could more or less be be kind of similar, but at the end of the day, they're two different business entities. And when the Force India team started several years ago, it was I think the Spiker Formula One team, and
Right.
then Dr. Vijay Mallya then had taken it over, and then we had the Sahara owners as well who had bought over some stake and things like that. But I believe that at the end of the day, when the team does well, and also public memory is also not very long. So there is, yes, a certain amount of controversy surrounding all the negativity which is going around because of the debt which the owners or some of their other entities have. But I think all that is sub judice and is not under the current purview of things. As long as the team is doing well and the fans and the drivers are happy about the dynamics of the team, I think that's where the discussion should be.
So you do put your money on Sergio Perez doing better along with Nico Hülkenberg. How close, what kind of a close contest did he have? Were you able to catch the race this time?
Yes, in parts. Although I couldn't watch it fully this time due to other commitments. But I did watch it briefly. I also believe that had the safety car not come on during the towards the end, we might have well had Force India being 3 and 4 and not 3 and 5.
Right. So you definitely will be cheering for the team and keeping the Indian tricolour flying high for Force India. You believe in the team and its talent?
Absolutely. In fact, I had actually written an article for one of the papers a couple of seasons ago, where I was actually closely working with the with Naren Karthikeyan
Right.
very briefly, and and also was talking about the pay driver concept.
Right.
That Formula One is an expensive sport, and it's and also that many drivers do bring in a lot of sponsorship to the team apart from their own phenomenal talent.
Right.
And sometimes it is kind of a little unfortunate that the best talent who do not bring in sponsorship are not able to get a drive.
Right.
And Sergio Perez, I believe, also is an excellent combination of phenomenal talent and also has the capability and wherewithal to bring in corporate support through some of his Mexican business tycoon associations.
Right, alliances. Thank you so much
Sure.
for your thoughts and your comments, Navneet. Do take the conversation forward on your Twitter handle and our website, indiapostlive.com. Last thoughts from you, Mr. Kapoor. At the Buddha International Circuit, we saw the big race, happen in India for the first time. Did Force India receive as much of a crowd response as maybe a Ferrari did?
If I look back, actually, it got quite a lot of eyeballs and a lot of interest because while the traditional fans were looking at all the big
The old
teams
giants.
and seeing them up close the first time,
Right.
there was a lot of interest on the Indian team as well, and the way Mr. Mallya designs and plans the whole thing, there was no let up in the glamour quotient or the style per se of displaying the team and all its hardware in front of the other team. So it was as good, if not better.
Great. On that note, we'd like to say and wish Force India good luck for the next race. And it seems that despite the controversies, the financial mess, not being able to even pay some of its employees, the team owners of Force India aren't letting anything come in the way of making sure that Force India shines in the Formula One race and on the track, whether on or off it. The glamour quotient continues for Force India, and here's wishing them good luck and A lot of Indian followers and fans seem to be cheering for Force India regardless of what the owners are going through. Thank you so much for joining in and watching this conversation at India Post Live. Do put in your feedback, comments and queries. We'd like to hear your voice on India's first interactive news conversation web TV. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, sir.